afternoon, good evening, family. Let me welcome you to the Mental House with me, your host, Khadija. Whatever side of the diaspora that you are on, I want you to know that I welcome you. And y'all, let's just go through a lot of these stressful type of um, components that we're dealing with. I'm always trying to encourage us to continue to stay focused on ourselves individually because that's what helps. But at the same time, you cannot live in a bubble, especially if you live in the hood. If you do, then that bubble is going to burst right around you. And so you're aware of that, and I am too. But I just want to talk about a universal story. First of all, let me start right here. That is just so disgusting to me, and I'm sure it's happening all across America. But can you envision being molested as a child and then having your sex offender go to jail, spend 15 years there, and then get out and move right next door to you? I mean, that is insane. And how does that happen? How does the victim not get protected any more than that? Any more than that, when the perpetrator of that crime um, is about to be released. And you mean to tell me there's not a probation officer, there's not anyone that is remotely connected to this case that can figure out that that's a bad idea? See, that's what I mean. It's very important that we understand that this is a situation where this is a nation gone mad. Okay, and it's always this is the beginning of destruction. And I don't understand how, I mean, you can just keep piling it on, piling it on, piling it on. And I talk often about going to that quiet place. And if we um, know that there is a place that you must go in order to keep sane. Because nowhere on no planet does that seem right. So what I would say is if that had happened to me and my daughter is molested, and next thing you know, she's a little girl when she's molested, and the person gets out and he moves next door to me, and if you that bold to do that, okay, that's the only thing I can say about that. Is okay. Now, there comes a time when you just have to fight or flight, and that's what in your life, and you may be afraid, you may not want to, that may not be the task that you envision for yourself. However, there's just certain circumstances that you have to fight or flight, and it depends how you see fighting is how successful you'll be. Self-preservation is the first law of nature, and when you understand that, then that means you have a right and a duty to protect the life that the Creator has given you under any means and under any circumstances necessary. Okay? So, that story disturbed me. And the second story that disturbed me more than anything, and it's really getting to the point where I'm getting sick and tired of this man who's a baby boomer like me. I think he's a couple years older than me. But we're around neck and neck. We're pushing each other. And his mind has gotten to the point now where we can't really afford him anymore. And that is Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, and what he said was so insensitive to the young man about telling him to go, the man from Flint. Him and the guy for those of you who don't know, we're disagreeing by now. You must have been under a rock if you don't know. Anyway, they was disagreeing about something that had to do with the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Something as trivial as a basketball game. And because Steve has an affinity, of course, for Cleveland, he was very sad and hurt when they lost. But the kicker was when he told the young man to, why don't you, I mean, good luck at home. And the guy's from Flint, drinking your brown water. Now, I don't know what planet that's funny on. You have kids that have been severely brain damaged. You have individuals who have brain damage, have died, have been poisoned by the government. In fact, there are people that have been brought up on manslaughter charges for the negligent way that they handled that situation. Hopefully, they just won't be charged. Hopefully, they'll be convicted. But my point is, something that serious could garner that kind of joke. And then he doubled down on it by saying, instead of being apologetic, even he said, oh, well, he was just talking to one person. So then you had the mayor of Flint come out, and even the little girl they called Little Miss Flint that I believe he had on his show before, she comes out and she says, hey, don't talk about our city like this. We dying over here. We got little bottles of water that we have to wash up in. This water is fine. And you know this man, and as opposed to apologizing for what he did, he tripled down. And this time he said, maybe I should stop telling jokes. It was all about him. What a fucking narcissist. What a freaking fracking narcissist. They come in black and they come in white. So now he's an enemy of his own self to be laughing at poor people who are stuck in a city and they are being poisoned. They were poisoned by the government. See, the sad thing is when you never had nothing and you get plucked. I think I made a video about this before. Out of these poor neighborhoods, put into a life that you've never seen before. You give it money and live in a life that you never could have dreamed it could be this fly. You begin to sell your soul. And once you start selling it, the richer become totally beyond your imagination. But then comes the part of, do you have a soul? Or did you lose it in the process? See? Because I look at a lot of Steve Harveys out there. He's not the only one. He's not the only one. There are some people that will never, ever, ever reach the pinnacle of a Steve Harvey in their respected field or career simply because they don't have the DNA. They don't have the DNA to mistreat, to not be held accountable, and not to compromise to that degree. So when you look at somebody like Steve Harvey, and the fact that he can say stuff like that, it should let you know that he's gone. He's gone. And the only thing you can start doing about somebody like that is to stop supporting them. I'm hearing all this garbage that's coming out about him not being divorced from his first wife. And I know this sounds a little personal and gossipy, but your character has a lot to do. When it all falls down, lemon it up, and then it all falls down. Okay, when it all starts falling down, you start seeing a glimpse of that person. Glimpses and glimpses to that person's character. And then you can make an assessment or a decision if you want to fuck with him or not. Okay? A friend of mine was on his show, and he brought all his little boys on there, and Steve Harvey is so impressed because they all wear suits. And some of these guys, and they do gardens here, right here. And so my homeboy went on to Steve's show, and they talked about this. He was so proud because he saw the little dudes with the little suits on and this, that, and the other. And, you know, that's your best. I'm uncomfortable with a person that would make a joke about something like that. I'm uncomfortable with a brother that would make, not even uncomfortable with a person that would say, well, I don't want nothing to do with slavery. Tell him I don't want nothing to do. And then you're sitting there calling and Kiki and Kakan with Paula Dean. You know what? You need to have several seats now. You really do. And I'm gonna move on from Steve Harvey because it's disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. You know what else happened? I know a lot of y'all want me to talk about Philando Castile and the decision. I was done last summer when I talked about man, I can't even think of his name now. Wow, it's been so many. But he was shot in the back by the officer in South Carolina. That's what really opened my eyes to what we're dealing with and what this system of narcissism really is and how deep it goes. So I thought about that when we start talking about this Philando Castile situation and how this officer is allowed again to walk away after killing. Here's what I want everybody to hear under the sound of my voice. I've heard it all before. I've heard it in more ways than you can imagine. Um, I am the goddaughter of Robert White, who was one of Milwaukee, what they call Milwaukee 6. Milwaukee 3. I'm sorry. And I'm from that school of thought. If you don't know what that's all about, look that up. But what I want to say to you is, as my clan, let me say this. Once we really, really understand that we are prisoners of war, okay, then maybe we'll stop marching and come up with a more viable plan to stop these executions. Because the police are never going to be prosecuted. They're laughing at us. They're shooting our babies. They shoot women. They shoot pregnant women. And you still trying to pray about this? I liken this to the bully at school. Nobody respects you when you allow people to stomp all over you, kick all over you. Hell, you don't even respect yourself. And the worst part about it, all the pain and vitriol and hatred that you have for this beast that's laying down this oppression on you, you're taking it out on your fellow human beings. You're taking it out on people that look like you. Because you just like those rats in that experiment. They got to eat off themselves. Now, remember when I told you, when they took those rats out of that box and gave them space, guess what? They still was eating on themselves because they had been conditioned. They had been fucked up in the brain. We're going to have to get our minds right. That's why I stay here. You got to get your mind right before you can even fight on one accord. And it don't take a lot. Don't take a lot. It just take the same vitriol that you have for yourself. The same hatred that you have for yourself. Is to stop misplacing it and put it where it really belongs. Put it where it really belongs. And once you do that, you should be able to sleep at night. You won't have to march up and down the street. Why don't you look at the Deacons for the Defense? Okay? I know that Philando Castile was a card bearing member of the NRA. And I haven't heard the NRA come out not one time and say anything about what has happened to Philando Castile. I too am a card carrying member of the NRA. And I'm drafting up a letter right now. Yeah. See that NRA? Okay. And I feel like a fool right now. Because they're not coming up and standing up when a black person who represents the right to bear arms, their Second Amendment right, the NRA said freedom safest place. It doesn't seem to want to protect their indigenous card carrying members. And that has to be addressed. So all of us black card carrying members of the NRA, we should write them. We should write them and tell them we don't like how they dropping the ball and where do they stand. Let's put it out in the open. Put it on the table. Okay? Because Donald Trump has made it real expedient for them to show their hatred. And he's not backing down. He's not coming out apologizing. He's not coming out even saying, if anything I said remotely has something to do with all this turn up on the planet of madness, let me say that's not my... Of course he's not going to say nothing like that. Because he got a job to do. But let me tell you something, black man and black woman, you got a job to do too. And first of all, you got to stop fighting yourself. You can't reproduce yourself if you keep fighting yourself. You can't, if you got that much hatred for yourself, how can you survive? Damn what the outside system is doing to us. Look what we're doing to ourselves. I'm tired. I'm freaking fucking tired. For 58 years, I've been hearing this bullshit. It gets sickening after a while. One thing I know, I can see, I'm a product of the 60s. I keep telling y'all that. But we had love for each other. We had love. We can talk what you want to talk about the baby boomers. Yeah, we dropped the ball in a lot of places. But we the last of the real ones too, seem like. Because what y'all call real ain't real at all. You know, you making records about drinking syrup and popping Percocets. And how you gonna go to war when half of your people thinking that this is acceptable from a little age, and the parents are not even caring what their kids are listening to, and they listening to artists that are encouraging them. And then you want to know why these 13 and 14-year-olds will jack your ass as fast as they can throw something? They got no guidance. They got no love. And then they listening like any other young person in any other generation to the music of that time that helps them develop their character and their person and their independence. And we got all these people leading them astray. And ain't nobody got a problem with that. And then you want to wonder why we getting shot down in the street like dogs. Men, women, and children. They coming for us next. We have no allies. The only thing worse than a nigga is a nigga lover. Y'all know that, right? Remember Viola Luiso? Remember? Her family, she's still being talked down on. Still being, her legacy was never fixed. Because she helped some black people. So We can't have them twos and fews. We have to have a collective, truth-seeking body. And if we don't have that, all I can say is, for my clan, we better look at all this stuff that's going on around us and understand that if we don't pick our own selves up, if we don't love ourselves, we don't have the strength to fight nothing else. We really don't. So you can just line your ass up and go to the FEMA camp, because they got some boxes waiting on y'all asses. Because I'm not going. It'd be Harry Carey for me before I let some shit like that go down. For myself, my family, anything that I love. But we got some decisions to make. And we got to start right in our families, y'all. Because dealing with narcissism, you have to have strength. Dealing with narcissism in a narcissistic system, you got to have your faculty straight. So it's mind, body, and soul. Get your mind right. Start exercising. Stay out the fast food joints. Stay out that shit, because you can't think straight. And then get quiet. Because you'll know what to do. You'll know exactly what to do. We fought bigger fights than this before. And we won. Alright, I'm out. If you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, share. We'll see you next time in the Mental House.